Hi, Rusty with Springfield Leather along with my buddy Denny.
Hi.
So we thought we would take a chance and see if we couldn't show you a little bit about antiquing. It's going to be a little bit twofold because we're going to take some stuff that Denny has tooled, we're going to antique it, but I've also got a cool item that we're going to add to our line, and that is undyed ostrich legs. And I'm going to show you what you can do with them. So this is one that I did a couple days ago. It basically is an antiqued red Angelus paint with black Fiebing's paste over top of it. This is white, done into a bone. Super cool, makes great wallet backs. So anyway, we're going to show you how to do that. Denny, where do you want to start? You want to start with some of this tooled stuff? Do you want to start with the ostrich? What do you want to do?
Well, let's do a piece of the tooled first, and
Okay.
Then we can graduate to the ostrich.
I like that graduation.
And this is something that I started to do about 15 to 20 years ago. I always used to use Neatsfoot oil, and that was the finish that I put on all my products. But I started seeing these guys use this antique paste, and I thought it was just really cool, and it works out good. I do almost everything I do with it now. First, give it a light coat of Neatsfoot oil.
Why are you doing that?
For one thing, it'll add color to the vegetable tan leather just in itself. For another thing, it lubricates the fibers of the leather. When they tan this vegetable tan leather, it sucks all the oils and everything out of the leather, and it's good to put a little bit back into it because the leather is a bunch of fibers that work back and forth together, and when it's dry, they wear themselves out. So you lubricate them a little.
Speaking of dry, I'm going to pull this little bit out of that.
All right. And when you, after you oil it, it's going to look dark, and there'll be spots of it that are darker than others. But over a period of time, a day or two, it'll all pretty much even back out just to a nice golden color. Okay, we're hurrying this. Usually I would wait a little longer, but since we're on camera here, I'm gonna spray this with some Masters Quick Shine, but you can use basically any acrylic to resist the dye that's actually, or the antique paste that's going to go on there, because we don't want the paste to actually soak into the leather. We want it just to go down in all the cracks and tooling marks and cuts that are in there. Then we wipe it back off, and that leaves a nice two-tone finish to it. You can use a wipe-on resist too, and I used to do that. And now sometimes I'll still do it on the first coat, on the resist coat, but after the antique is on, if you wipe on an acrylic clear coat, it'll wash some of the antique back off. So I like to spray on both times. Is it pretty dry?
It's like magic over there.
All right, what color you want to do that?
Well, this one looks like a pretty natural color that you've done at some point.
Yeah, that's just been oiled and
looks like maybe the same way. How many of these you got? Oh, there we go. Here we've got some color. This one is, I want to say this is dark brown that we did, and then this one's the mahogany. I don't know about you. I really like the mahogany.
Thanks, Rusty. Mahogany is the one color I don't have. How about cordovan?
How about cordovan? I was thinking cordovan would be a great one anyway.
All right. Now this paste is, it just like it says, it's just a paste. And when you put this stuff on, you'll think, man, I have ruined this project. But you wipe the biggest part of it back off. And don't be bashful about it, because you want enough where it goes down and gets in every impression that you've got there. So you want to rub it in good.
What kind of time frame do you have, Denny?
Like right now, shoot, we just oiled it. We just put the resist on it. We're putting the antique on it. We'll wipe it back off and give it a little shot of the hair dryer, and that'll be ready to top coat again.
What if I let the paste sit on there too long? Is there a too long on the paste?
Yeah, there is. You don't want it to actually dry before you wipe it back off, but you do want it to set up and kind of coagulate a little bit.
Coagulate. What if I let it sit on there too long? What can I do?
It's just hard to wipe back off. You'll end up with some streaks and some parts that'll be darker than others.
Is it possible to take a moist rag and help it, or does that really help at all?
It'll probably help because I believe this is a water-based product. So
my experience had been, and that's what I was thinking too. My experience had been, you will let it set too long, but if you do, a little bit of moisture will go a long ways, and it will help you to salvage it. Now, the one thing that I know about Denny is he likes his sheep wool. I like paper towel. Do you mind if I do that on here?
Not a bit. In fact, most of the time when I do it, I will wipe the initial the excess off with a paper towel, but then I'll go back over it with a piece of sheepskin.
Well, and the reason that I say that is because every time I use the sheepskin to pull it back off, sometimes I take more off than I should have. And with that thought, you can do something, either using a firm piece of paper towel, you can put a block inside with a piece of canvas, and that'll keep you from taking it right back out. Now, there's no wrong. And at this point, what if I let it set and I let it dry, and then I thought, I wish that was a little darker.
Go back over it again.
What if I think it's too dark? You might be able to use a shearling and pull some of that back out.
Exactly.
And that's why we put the resist on it in the first place. So for me, I like to see it done with the paper towel first, and like Denny said, then you have the option to go back and do whatever it is you'd like to do with it. What do you think?
I think that looks great. I would like that. One thing I want you to take note of, when you put that resist on so that the antique doesn't actually soak into the leather itself, but it will color your project to an extent. You'll never end up with just the oil color again. But I think it looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can also color your edges with this. If you go over the edge itself with the antique paste, you can color the edge.
I'm gonna cheat real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you something that I've been cheating, because I've been doing these ostrich legs the last few days, and I've been doing it with the antique paste. So I'm gonna show you a cheat that I've been doing. We're rushing this, like he said, but the challenge that we have is putting it all together in a time frame that you want to sit and watch it. The challenge that you will face when you do this is any kind of a liquid will kind of reactivate. So if I just take this and it's kind of moist and I just soak this thing down with Masters, it's going to get mushy and it gets almost fuzzy because it bleeds the paste. So what I've been doing is just real quick and light, and just kind of get a seal on it. And cheat.
Time is always the best dryer. But
it is, but this hair dryer sure helps.
It will work, and in reality at home or in your shop when you're doing this, if you let your Neatsfoot oil set up a little bit longer, a couple hours would be great.
Well, and speaking of which, when I did this and we did the mahogany on it, it was twice as dark as this was. And I came back in the next day and I thought, oh man, I really like that now. But at that point, now I can take and spray a little bit heavier over top of it and actually get a shine on it, because I've allowed it to kind of seal over the top. And it basically just puts a thin film. It's still not going to be cured, it's still not going to be dry, but now I can actually put a finish on it, throw it off to the side, and go on to do something else.
And if you get so much of that stuff on that the shine is a high gloss and you don't like that high gloss, you can take a little saddle soap and wipe over it and dull that shine down. But
I think it's pretty.
I think that looks pretty darn good.
All right,
I'm happy you did a nice job.
Thanks, Denny. You do good work too. All right, let's move past that, and let's go to my next fun project that I'm really enjoying right at the moment.
This is what I want to see.
These are, like I said, these are in the blue. These are ostrich legs, or the shin. They're crust. They've not been finished. So in other words, when you call a tannery and you say, hey, I'd like to have 100 brown ostrich legs, they'll take them from this point, and then they dye them, and then they get it ready to go on to produce what you want from it. But my thing is buying them like this, gives you the opportunity to dye it any color you want or paint it, and then that allows you to match it to your project.
Those are basically just unfinished
This
leather.
is just an unfinished piece of leather.
It's tanned, but it's not
It
finished.
just doesn't have a finish on it. Now, I'm going to use this one that has these marks on it because these are a second grade. I'm going to do paint on this one, and we're going to do a dye on this one. And the reason is because a paint is going to cover, where a dye is going to enhance. And so your dyes will enhance the characteristics of the leather behind it, where a paint will cover a lot of those characteristics and the flaws that we have on it. So we're going to do a couple of different ones. Denny, all I brought for paint was red, because I really like this one. So I'd like to do this one again, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
All right. I tell you what, while we do this, we're going to try and speed up the process just a fraction. So Denny, if you would dye this one, that would be great.
Dye
Just
it.
dye it.
Okay. We'll do that.
You can do it any way you want. If you want to moisten the piece before, it won't hurt anything.
I'm going to do it like I do it.
Why don't you do it like you do it? I like the way you do it. I'm going to be pretty liberal with the paint. The thing about it is it's probably going to take a couple of coats, so I'm going to put it on, I'm going to hair dry it, I'm going to put it on, I'm going to hair dry it, and kind of get the paint even on top of it, and I'm not going to be too shy about it. I don't think you should be shy either, Denny.
I'm not shy. Sometimes I am.
Well, I think you're doing a good job this time. The thing about the paint, the difference between the paint that you're going to find and the dye is the paint is a whole lot thicker consistency. So you may run into a chance of covering up some of the characteristics, so you don't want to get it on extremely thick. A number of thin coats is going to be a whole lot better than one real thick coat. Now with your dye though,
With your dye, you don't want to splash it on your shirt.
don't splash it on. Oh, Danny.
But you can.
I can't take you in there. Now, with the paint, you're going to have to concern yourself more with streaking too. If you can live with it, great. If you can't, then you might have to go back over it with a paper towel.
It looks good.
You can airbrush it too. The airbrush would probably save you a considerable amount of mess.
And paint too.
And paint probably. Now you can start to see some of the dark spots coming back through, and that's what I ran into on some of these. But the great thing is when you antique it, it goes away.
It becomes part of it.
This becomes part of the characteristics of the leather. Now those spots that started to come through, I'm just going to go back over them and touch them up. All right, so I am as dry as I really need to be. Again, I'm going to do a pretty light coat at first because I don't want it to reactivate it. Using his hair dryer.
You're getting along good.
We get along great.
I love a hairdryer. A lot of people do consider that cheating, but hey, it works. It gets the job done. 20 years from now, no one will know the difference.
All right, so I like to get into my work. The Ostrich has a lot of nooks and crannies. The rag, I'm sure, would work. I'm just not that patient. So, like Denny said before, you're going to be scared that you ruined it. It'll be okay. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in here, so you want to make sure and get them down deep into all of it.
Right, it doesn't do what you're trying to get it to do unless you get it down in all of those spots.
You got to get down and dirty with it. And I'm sure there's people that could do this much more professionally looking, but I bet they don't have nearly as much fun. All right, and on this, I'm using the paper towel again because I don't want it to pull too much off.
Man, that's looking good.
I like it when that red pop comes through there. watch for streaks on this as well. Because once you put your masters back over it, your quick shine over it, there ain't no changing it.
That looks great. I like that. It does give it an antique look.
I don't know why, Denny, but I'm super excited about these ostrich legs. Like I said, the biggest thing I think for me is the fact that you can turn them any color you want, and you can match what you're doing with it on the spot.
Exactly.
So you can buy like 5 or 6 of them, have them sitting there, and then when you get a project, you just dye them or paint them the color that you want.
I know we used to have ostrich legs that were already finished, and I believe we still have
do,
some.
yeah.
And they are beautiful.
But they are what they are.
They are what they are. You can make these any color you want, and I think that's pretty neat.
I do too. So I'm going to do the same thing, real thin, quick coat, trying to give it a seal. These two will have a fair bit of drying to do once you're done.
Yeah, but with the paint, the color's not going to change all that, right?
No, this will pretty much be what it is tomorrow, what it is today.
Yeah. Dye is kind of a different story. It will lighten up, and this probably needs to dry a couple or 3 hours at least before it's actually going to be the color it would be.
Ooh, got a little heavy. With the masters, you can really get a shine on it. Good? All right. So, there's mine. What you got?
Well, you want to try some antique on this? Let's try the black on this and
Well,
see what
do you want to seal it first, or do you think you need to?
Yeah, I probably ought to.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought about that. I was getting ahead of myself.
Well, if nothing else, the finger painting's fun.
Yeah. This will be real subtle, whatever color we get out of it, because the dye is pretty dark anyway. But a lot of times subtle is what you want.
You want paper towel?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be pretty.
It is. A lot of people, when they actually dye something, they won't saturate the leather. And you don't want to oversaturate it with the dye, but you want to make sure that there's dye that actually permeates the grain of the leather and is not just a top coat, because that's when you'll get streaks. And
Cool. Boy, that is a rich color.
that is.
It's
I
gonna-
bet it dries out really
I
looking
bet it
great.
does too. It's really going to have some good detail down in there. All right, folks. Well, there you go. So, we've done our little demonstration. We started with this. We ended with these. And a little of that. Thanks for your time.